Hello, and welcome to Not Your Average Breakdown podcast, a podcast that breaks down anything from politics to pop culture, global affairs to local happenings. You can rest assured that we will navigate through a diverse array of topics, providing a rich tapestry of insights and discussions that promise to both inform and entertain. Today, for our 20th episode, we're switching roles again, and Claudia, my ever curious friend, is breaking down for us a true crime case that I know nothing about. Hello, Claudia.
Man, I know you're so uncomfortable right now.
So uncomfortable. But you know what? I know you were also uncomfortable because you had to do the research.
I know. I fucking hate it, but you did great. You're so you don't realize how much you could MC so easily, and I think that like it intimidates you a little bit, which it's always the opposite for us, but I think you do great whenever you do it.
Thank you. I mean, I don't like to be the spotlight, and I feel like that's what you do. Like, you're the face of the podcast, you introduce us, and you always do it so good and so intelligently. And I love that. And I don't feel as comfortable doing it. And it might be because of my accent, it might be because maybe I'll fumble words or something and embarrass myself, but that's okay. It's part of the job.
It's all right. It just shows how we thrive in our roles, and we're like peanut butter and jelly.
I love that. We are peanut butter and jelly.
So different, but so complementary. So I chose a topic to talk about today that would be easy for me to talk about because you know how intimidated I get about researching, and it's easy for you, but so overwhelming for me. But I picked a topic that I realized that you didn't know a lot about, and it's been in the news this past week because it's about the Michelle Troconis trial that originated from the disappearance of Jennifer Dulos. And it's a Connecticut-based case. And I realized that you didn't know a lot about it. So this is perfect to review on this podcast.
Yes. So I know that there was something that happened maybe like 2016, 2017 timeframe, if I remember correctly.
2019.
2019. Oh,
Yep.
wow. I remember that there was something happening because it happened in the county that, we lived in. I know like it was all over the local news, but I didn't really follow it through. Like, I remember that like the husband was involved and stuff, but I don't know. I just didn't like.
Oh, we're going to get into it.
Yeah. So when you brought it up, and I know we talked to a couple of our friends, and they were like, "Oh yeah, like that case is insane," and I was like, "Okay, yeah, that's I feel like that's a good 20th podcast episode where we sort of break away maybe a little bit from the topics that we have been covering recently."
Yeah, we make it a little lighter, instead of, super political or heavy. So this, I mean, it's not that disappearances and potential murders are that light, but it's a story.
Yeah.
So I get to be the storyteller. I'm excited to do it. And there's so much about this case, and it's going on for so long that I've paid attention to it, but I not really to the detail that I was able to dive into doing this. So here we go. So in the light of the recent news of Michelle Troconis being found guilty of conspiring to murder Jennifer Dulos in 2019 and five other counts, this story takes place in Connecticut, as I mentioned, and has obviously been on my radar since it started in 2019. And it happened around the time, I believe, that you were going into the military. Was that right? What year did you do that?
Yeah, so I deployed in May of 2019.
Okay. This is perfect. Yeah, because it just happened right around that time. So you were preoccupied if you were here.
Yeah.
And you are getting sent overseas. So this is perfect. Today, we're going to dive deep into the complex and tragic story of Jennifer Dulos, whose life and disappearance has left an indelible mark on the community of New Canaan and beyond. So to start, we're going to do a little background on Jennifer, who she was. She was born in New York, to an affluent family, and she graduated from Brown University in 1990. This is where she met her former husband, Fotis Dulos, and they were married in 2004 and had 5 children together. Cracks in their relationship became public in 2017 when Jennifer filed for divorce, citing Fotis's infidelity and concerns for her safety and that of her children. So Fotis Dulos became involved in a romantic relationship with Michelle Troconis a year before Jennifer Dulos filed for divorce, according to court filings on this case. Michelle Troconis, she was actually a business associate of Fotis, which is how they met. And she actually moved into the house that the family had been living in Farmington when Jennifer Dulos moved out. So it's a little.
Wait, you said Farmington, like Farmington, Connecticut, or Farmington,
Yes.
New York?
No, Connecticut.
Okay.
So she moved in with him when Jennifer took the kids and moved out and moved to New Canaan. It kind of happened rapidly, the situation. So I can see how emotions could be high with what's going on. Their nanny at the time testified that she, the nanny, and Jennifer Dulos had become afraid of Fotis Dulos in 2017 when the Dulos relationship deteriorated after she found out that he had been having an affair. That year, the nanny said that Fotis chased Jennifer Dulos outside of their home with a piece of paper and had a screaming argument with her inside the Farmington home, where she ran into a bedroom and he tried to barge in the closed door. So there was already like things happening within their relationship showing that it was toxic, that it was aggressive. So this started, even before the whole divorce thing officially started rolling. What followed was a bitter legal battle with accusations and counter accusations flying between the estranged couple. And then this leads us to the big event. This was May 24th, 2019. Jennifer vanished. This sent shockwaves through New Canaan, but this was right around, I think did you get sent away by that time?
Yeah, so I reported for duty May 31st. So
Oh
it
my God.
literally happened like days before that.
Wow. Literally days before.
Yeah.
And at that time, she was missing. It wasn't all this dramatic events that were unraveling, because at that time they were like, wow, there was this lady missing and nobody knew enough about it by the time you were going away. Yeah, so this makes sense. Okay, so Jennifer, 50 at the time, was reported missing at around 7:30 at night on that day. She was last seen driving her black 2017 Chevrolet Suburban, dropping her children off at New Canaan Country School, and missed doctor's appointments scheduled as early as 11 a.m. That were supposed to happen in the city. So sometime between dropping off her children and 11 a.m. was her appointment in the city, and she missed that. So that's the indicator that, it's a short time frame. So, they got to narrow that down and focus. So at 10:25, Jennifer's Chevy Suburban was seen driving away from her home, okay, in New Canaan. So according to the cellular data obtained from Jennifer's phone, and authorities later believed that the car, along with her body and bags of evidence, were brought up to, it's a road called Lapham, where her vehicle was found later that night parked behind a park.
So do you think that like somebody killed her in her house and then
Yes.
stashed her in her car?
Yes. So foul play was immediately suspected because investigators believed that she suffered a serious physical assault in her garage, because that's where all blood stains and blood spatter were found, according to the arrest warrants that were issued later on.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so they immediately knew there was signs. There was definitely signs something was up. Did they know if she was alive? No, but because they didn't have a body, they didn't have, there was nothing else, but they saw just evidence of something physical went down. So as days turned into weeks, the search for Jennifer intensified, with volunteers combing through forests and fields, clinging to the hope of finding her alive. But as the weeks stretched into months, that hope began to fade. It was replaced by a grim realization that Jennifer was most likely gone, and there was this foul play that was suspected. So it was not looking good. The suspicion soon turned to Fotis Dulos and his girlfriend, Michelle Troconis, because On the night of Jennifer Dulos' disappearance, Fotis and Michelle were caught on camera in a truck stopping at more than 30 trash receptacles along Albany Avenue in Hartford. Police traced the vehicle back to Fotis Dulos, and both Fotis and Michelle's cell phones were in the Hartford area when the videos were captured. So these videos are actually all over. You can access them. They're street footage of him just pulling up to garbage cans, taking out black garbage bags and dumping them into these like trash cans. Later, the trash cans were searched and found garbage bags containing clothes and household items such as kitchen sponges that were stained with blood belonging to Jennifer Dulos.
Oh my God.
Okay. Okay.
I thought you were gonna say like they were dropping off 30 bags full of body parts. That's like where my mind went.
No. So the craziest thing about this is there's never been a body found.
Oh, they never found the body?
Never.
Oh
No.
my God. Okay.
No, but there's so much physical evidence without the body that I think that that's why they're able to get to the points that they get as the story continues, because like her blood's everywhere. Like
Oh,
everywhere.
yeah, yeah. I mean, they definitely whacked her. Like
Oh
that's,
yeah.
but they had to, like, I'm wondering now. I mean, first of all, like if they didn't drop off her body in New Canaan, like I used to live right next to New Canaan and go there all the time.
Mhm.
Like that's a super small little town, but it's very like woody and foresty and stuff.
Mhm.
But it's accessible to people. So there is no way that that body is just decaying there for,
No.
5 years. So they had to do something with the body, like bury it or put it through the wood chipper or something.
Yeah.
That's
No, unfortunately, they never found it. And then I'll tell you more of the story as we go. So in June 2019, Dulos and Triconis were charged with tampering with or fabricating physical evidence and hindering prosecution. So they were arrested for that. Then they were arrested again in September on another charge of tampering with evidence, and they pleaded not guilty. So the whole time they keep getting arrested because these instances of them lying and them like, just the cell data and people coming forward saying, "Oh yeah, he borrowed my truck and that day, and when it was returned, it was cleaned, and he asked me to remove the seats." So these things keep piling up against them, but they maintain their innocence the whole time.
wait. So you said something that just like triggered my brain. You said they kept being arrested. So obviously there's this security footage that
Mhm.
shows them dropping off obviously the tools that they used to clean up the murder, right? Like
Mhm.
you
Right.
don't just drive in your first of all, they went to Hartford.
Yeah.
That's like 2 hour drive from New Canaan.
Mhm.
So they drove 2 hours out
Mhm.
to drop off like 30 trash bags in 30 different containers. Like that's
Mhm.
right there, something's up, right? So I'm assuming the police retrieved the bags, found it was like blood, you said bloody sponges,
Mhm.
whatnot. I'm sure then they matched the DNA to Jennifer, right?
Yes. Yep.
So isn't that enough circumstantial?
I know where you're going.
Oh
I
my
know where you're
God.
going with this.
I haven't been drinking. It got really hard.
It's
Uh,
okay.
Circumstantial evidence. We
We
made
weren't
it.
moving on until you got it.
I know.
So
To arrest them and then keep them in jail. Like, why did
that's the
they get
part.
released?
Yeah, I'm not sure. That's the part I couldn't find because nobody was really focusing on those parts. They just kept focusing on the timeline of like, okay, they wanted to point out that they were arrested multiple times. So I was like, all right, moving on. But I was like, okay, clearly like stuff keeps just coming up. So September, they got arrested again. In January 2020, Fotis Dulos was taken into custody by Connecticut State Police at his home and was charged with capital murder, murder and can I fucking speak today? And was charged with capital murder and kidnapping, police said. The police alleged that Fotis Dulos drove his employee's pickup truck to New Canaan that day, rode a bicycle to Jennifer Dulos's home, attacked her there after she returned from dropping off their children at school, and then drove her in her own SUV. In an interview with the police, Michelle Tricona said that Fotis Dulos had the vehicle cleaned 5 days after the Jennifer Dulos disappearance because the body of Jennifer at some point was in there, according to an arrest warrant. When they interviewed the employee of the truck, like I mentioned, he said that Dulos made him even remove the seats from the truck, but that employee kept the seats. So he replaced the seats. Yep, kept the seats because he like Fotis kept telling him just do it, just clean it. I had stuff in there. He's like, I need you to change it, just change it, because the police are trying to basically pin it on me, and if they find anything in my car, it's basically going to ruin the reputation of my business, so I just want you to clean out the whole car. So the guy's like, okay, this is weird. It's this little Polish guy that had a green card, so I think he was really nervous about like just cooperating with anybody.
Life of an immigrant right there.
Exactly. You can relate. You can relate. Although you're much more you're much safer than this
Hey,
certain man.
I got a nugget for you too. So there used to be, I'm not sure if it's still a law, but I think it was during like Obama days, that if you witnessed a crime and reported it, you could get
Immunity.
fast tracks, yeah, immunity and get citizenship.
He
Fast track
did.
citizenship. Yeah, I bet.
He ended up getting immunity because he kept the seats, and it proved to have her blood on the seats, on one of the
Wow.
seats. Yeah. So thank God he did that.
So let me ask you this. You said, what is the mistress's name? You said
Trichonis.
Triconis. Did she rat it out on her lover?
So I don't get it because I did find that quote, but she still maintains, well, I guess she's maintaining her innocence.
Mm.
And so she definitely could have said that. She didn't really rat him out, but she, I don't know, alluded to certain things.
Hmm.
So that's really all I can find. All right. So then, however, before Fotis could go to trial, he took his own life. So,
Oh,
uh-huh. Uh-huh. So at 52, he died of an apparent suicide in his Farmington home. Yeah. Police found him unresponsive in a vehicle at around noon on January 28th, 2020, during a welfare check when he didn't show up to an emergency bond hearing.
damn. This
Mhm.
dude killed himself like not even a year later.
Yes. So he left a note.
Oh,
Okay. So
okay.
I read the note. There's a picture of it online that you can find. It's in his handwriting. And to sum it up, he says a couple things. He says, I refuse to spend even an hour more in jail for something I had nothing to do with. Enough is enough, which doesn't fucking make sense to me, guy.
No.
And then he went on to say, I want it to be known that Michelle Troconis had nothing to do with Jennifer's disappearance, and neither did Kent Mowini. Now, I'm going to tell you who Kent is in a minute, but let's just talk about this note for a
Mhm.
second.
Okay.
Like, what are your feelings about it when I tell you that's what he wrote?
I feel like a couple of things, right? I feel like if you're innocent, you would be more encouraged to prove that you're innocent, right?
Mhm.
Than actually commit suicide. Like that to me just,
Yes.
and I think statistically also doesn't make sense because like in some high profile cases when people commit suicide it's usually because they're guilty.
Mhm.
So
Right.
that doesn't make sense to me, but this guy has like obviously history of abuse
Mhm.
and there's just like so much evidence, and I hate sometimes how our police works, and like it's nothing I guess against the police, but it's the laws that get in the way. Like remember we talked about Kathleen Armstrong, and she got released from prison, or well, not prison, but she was brought in for questioning, and they wanted to question her about the murder, but there was an administrative error on the warrant. They put in a wrong birthday.
Right. I remember
So
that.
legally, they couldn't hold her, which
Yes.
makes no sense. Like you suspect this person to kill somebody, and but you legally can. I'm like, what? We cannot find a judge in an emergency to like issue a new warrant in like
Right.
30 minutes, so we can actually bring the killer to justice. And then what she does, like, she flees the next day,
Yeah.
like sells everything, flees, and it's gone. So I feel like that I have like conflicting feelings about this, because they obviously suspected him and were bringing him, and he got arrested a few times, as you mentioned, but like nothing was tangible enough for him to go there. So like that's number one. Number two, I feel like if you're gonna die, like if you're gonna kill yourself, at least admit what you did,
Right.
because there's no point in lying anymore. Like you cannot be brought up to justice. It doesn't matter anymore at this point, right? Like
Mhm.
you're gone, so at least let us know what you did to her. Where's the body, so we can close this case? So
Exactly.
that kind of speaks to his character as well. and
Exactly.
and I don't know how I feel about the fact that he was like, oh, my mistress, who might be involved in this, has nothing to do with it. Like, we don't trust you. You already
Right.
showed us that we can't trust you.
Also, clearly, she is in the truck as he's making the deposits into the trash cans. So
Exactly. So if she didn't kill her, she is
she
complicit.
right.
Yeah.
She had a role.
Yeah, absolutely.
And reading the stories, her and him both were quoted as saying things like, in the heat of the moment, I want to kill that bitch, basically referring to Jennifer. So they both were on record for saying things like that. So it's not just like he had this intense hate and only him. They were both involved.
Yeah, they sound like a nut job couple.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I wanted to tell you who that Kent Mawhinney is. He is accused of aiding Fotis Dulos by trying to provide an alibi for his friend during the period that she went missing. And I'll go into more detail on him after I close out Fotis, but I just wanted you to know who that guy was that he mentioned in his note. And the guy's an attorney. So a judge granted a nolle prosequi requested by the prosecutors to dismiss the murder charges against Fotis, ending the criminal case. The nolle prosequi is not an acquittal, but an acknowledgement of the reality that the prosecution of Fotis Dulos cannot continue. It gives prosecutors 1 year to refile the charges or they are dismissed. It also lifts the gag order imposed on the parties and frees witnesses from their obligations. So, just to clarify, that's what ended up happening because he killed himself.
Yeah, so I mean, this is similar, like when we covered Jeffrey Epstein. That's
Mhm.
exactly what happened in that
Okay.
case, right?
Yep.
So because he committed suicide, air quotes, there was no longer a case that they can try,
Right.
because like the guy's dead.
Right.
So even if you have all this evidence, you can't try at that person in court.
No.
So yeah, but it's bullshit, because if the families never get the closure,
No.
like, and there might be this overwhelming evidence against this Dulos guy, but like, now what?
Nothing. Now nothing. That's what
Yeah,
happens.
yeah,
But there's two other people involved in this case. That's where it continues, So now on to Michelle. She faced charges of conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with evidence. She, like I said, still maintains innocence, claiming that she had no knowledge of Jennifer's disappearance or death. Okay, herself. But this is why we're telling this story, because she was literally just in the news this week, and she was found guilty of the following charges. She was found guilty of 5 charges: conspiracy to commit murder, conspiracy to commit tampering with physical evidence, conspiracy to commit tampering with physical evidence, tampering with physical evidence, and second degree hindering prosecution. So,
yeah. So I wonder why it took so long for this to happen, considering that they have this like video
right.
footage of them dropping these bags.
Well, I know that the case got pushed because of COVID and
COVID,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, so it just hit, and then I know that that had a lot to do with it, but I mean, it's 2024 and she just was found guilty, and she faces a maximum sentence of 50 years in prison. Her sentencing is set for May 31st.
Oh, how neat. That was my deployment date.
Well, happy anniversary. Maybe she'll get 50 years. I don't know.
That's excellent.
So, and then in regard to Kent Mawhinney, as I mentioned, accused of aiding Fotis in the disappearance and death of his wife by trying to provide an alibi for his friend when she went missing. Mawhinney was interviewed twice by police, just to clarify. First, officials said he claimed that there was no meeting scheduled between Fotis and himself on the morning of Jennifer's disappearance. Then, in his second interview, he reportedly stated there was a pre-arranged meeting with Fotis, stating he arrived at Fotis's home before 8 a.m., where he stood for almost an hour before leaving without seeing Dulos. So it's contradicting statements that he had. And then the warrant said that phone records showed that Mawhinney had called Fotis the night of May 24th when Fotis was allegedly dumping bloody bags of evidence in Hartford. But Mawhinney denied any phone contact with Fotis that day. So shady as fuck. Okay. Like none of his story
Yeah.
is has stayed consistent this whole time. And also when they went to go get him, he eluded police when they went to go get him. As of right now, he was released on house arrest. Oh no, I'm sorry. He was on house arrest. They said that he's complied with it to this point. So they're not restricting him to his home, but he has to wear a GPS ankle monitor at this point while he awaits. So, as I mentioned, no body was ever found, despite an intense search that spanned 2 states, several Connecticut counties, including bodies of water, and a 3-week jaunt through a trash plant. Some of the best investigators in the state have varying opinions on where Dulos might be located. I mean, I've heard some rumors on this, okay? So the tea is that obviously construction company, and he was working on several restaurants at the time. One is a very popular restaurant in Cheshire that was building out their patio. I don't even want to name it because
No.
I don't want someone to come at me, but there's
All right.
speculation that she's underneath that patio.
Oh my God. So you're telling me the old dude has a construction company or had a construction
Mhm.
company,
Mhm.
killed his estranged wife,
Mhm.
buried her under a freaking restaurant patio?
Yeah.
That's the rumor in Connecticut.
So that's the rumor that I heard. And so the timeline connects and, what's a better place to keep a body than under cement
Bedrock.
that's
Yeah.
not going to be messed with for hundreds of years to come.
So I have a question.
Mm,
Have you been to that restaurant in Cheshire?
I literally was just there.
Was this a case research or just?
So literally, so what do you think I was talking about while I was there with the people that I was with? So I mean, I'm like, so did you guys hear this? And then that started the whole conversation. But I don't know,
Damn. All right.
something like that because they haven't found her body to this point. Not out of the question for me, at least. So and so the most important thing here to me in this is what about Jennifer's family? Where
Yeah.
are they at now? Like, what has happened since then? So, her children that were left behind, now ranging, there was 5, now ranging from 13 years old to 17, have been in their grandmother's care since the day of Jennifer's disappearance. This is Jennifer's mom. In August of 2023, this past August, um, Miss Farber, which is her mom, who was 88 at the time, filed a petition to the Darien New Canaan Probate Court to declare Jennifer dead in order to protect the children, NBC Connecticut reported. As long as Jennifer's status was undecided, then the children could not inherit from her or from their mother. According to Jennifer's will, all of her assets would be left to the children now that she's officially declared dead.
Oh my God. That is scary because I totally forgot about that fact that you mentioned that she had kids. I mean,
Yeah.
they had kids, right? Like those were his kids as well, and
Yeah.
both of their parents are dead. Because of what? Like, what was the? Do we know what was the reason for her murder? Like, was she trying to take money away from him? Was she trying to take the custody of the kids? Like, what is?
So they were just going back and forth, making accusations at each other. The latest situation that had enraged him was that he claimed that she would not let the children come to his house to see their dying dog. And that set him off enraged. That was the last time people had heard him like saying, I want to kill her. So I mean, when you think about it, nothing is enough to want to kill someone. And now these kids, you know what, you want to talk about that note? These kids, you say that you're innocent and now you can't bear it and you're going to die. Well, how about rather than live concentrating on that, why aren't you concentrating on being there for your children that just lost their mom?
Yeah. Well, I mean, but that if you're capable of killing, you're probably don't have then regard for anybody else, you
Yeah, but
know.
he's saying he's innocent. Like, okay,
Yeah,
fucking show
okay.
us that you're innocent and be there for your children because that overcomes anything else.
Yeah, but they don't. If he was all up there, like we wouldn't be talking about this
Right.
case, But he
Exactly.
had some type of mental health illness, some type of issue, sociopath, God knows what. He probably didn't think about his kids. I really have to say it like that.
He said in his goodbye letter, he was like, tell them I love them.
That's crazy.
It's a story that's been going on for a long time.
Yeah, 5 years. I don't know why I thought it happened earlier. Because I know I heard something like about a murder in New Canaan, but I don't know. I guess I didn't connect it that it happened in 2019, but I definitely didn't follow it through. So this was like, it's crazy because I know exactly where it happened. So, like, as you're telling me these things, like, I'm trying to picture, like their house and
Mhm.
like where they dumped the body and like how they drove to Hartford and all these things. And you're just like, oh my God, like Connecticut is like one of the safest states
Yeah.
in the
Well,
country.
he lived in Farmington. So Hartford from Farmington is not very far.
Yeah, but
So,
they had to haul her ass from New Canaan
mhm.
because they obviously killed her in New Canaan.
Right.
And like my doctor used to be in Farmington, so I used to drive there all the
Yeah.
time to Yukon Hospital. And so, I mean, that's a drive too. It's like hour and a half from Fairfield County. So, like they still had to drive a couple of hours to dump the evidence. Like that's insane. All right. So the girl, the mistress got charged.
Yep.
That Kent dude, he is on
Awaiting.
waiting, right?
Yep.
Has an anklet, and the old dude is dead,
Yep.
and that's all the actors in the case, right?
That's it. That's
And we,
everything.
yeah,
And now they closed her out by officially saying that she is dead, and now her kids can rightfully inherit what they need to inherit.
boy, I wish. I know there is equipment that you can scan and search for
Mhm.
bodies underneath. I really
Mhm.
wonder if the restaurant in Cheshire will allow that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, so I don't know that I didn't investigate that particular rumor, but I wonder, if police have gone down that rabbit hole or not.
Yeah, I
Who
mean,
knows?
I'm sure it takes like extensive warrants to do stuff like that.
Mhm.
Especially now that she's proclaimed dead, and that makes
Mhm.
it harder administratively to like search for her. But yeah, but if hey, that rumor didn't start for nothing.
Right. And I wish that we could know where she is because that would bring closure to their family.
Yeah, and I feel like it will bring some relief to their kids. You know,
Yeah,
like they know that
exactly.
like they have their mom's body and they can bury it and or do whatever.
Yeah,
Like
I
that.
know. At least
Wow,
give
that
them
was
that.
that was a crazy case, Claudia.
I mean, I want to say that I did read people talking about Michelle Triconis, and there was a lot of people that stood up for her character in her life. I didn't know what to think because some people were like, there's no way she could have done this. But people do crazy things for love or in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, and I feel like people also know how to pretend well, like they blend
Mhm.
in, especially if they're like I said, like sociopaths,
Mhm.
like they can act like normal member of our society and our community, and they can be engaging and have friends and host parties and stuff. And especially, I feel like Connecticut, especially Fairfield County, you don't ever think that that would happen there, you know? So like you have this, you have this white woman living in an upscale neighborhood or something. You never think about like, oh, she's probably a serial killer,
No.
or like a sociopath. Like you don't think about those things. So when it happens, like her neighbors are probably like, oh, there's no way that she could do that. Like
Right.
she always was on time. She was always polite, saying hello to her neighbors. But you never know what happens behind
Right.
the
And
closed doors.
love makes you do crazy shit, just to see this person that you love, to help them out. If she thought she was helping him and supporting him, and if she thought Jennifer Dulos was a thorn in their side, she wants to get rid of it. She's motivated to get rid of her just as much as he is. So I could see how that whole bubble could have happened.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Like murder for passion.
Hmm.
That it happens. It's more common than we think.
Exactly. I know.
Yeah. Wow.
Well,
Okay.
super sad, but I glad that there's getting to be some closure now at this
Yeah.
point in time. All right, people. I hope that you enjoyed this flip flop. I was nervous as hell to bring it, even though it was an easy story to tell. Alex, what do you think?
That was really good, and I think you did really good. You probably did better than our 10th episode, Michael Oher case.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But I think that one was it involved like more details, and there was just a lot of players in it and stuff.
Yes, definitely. But I am very happy to go back to normal.
Yeah. I was nervous like first 30 seconds of this podcast, but you were nervous for other 44 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm totally fine with this.
This shit's for the birds. I don't want to do this, all this talking. And meanwhile, like I could see the passion when you talk about the things that you researched, because they genuinely interest you. So like that comes forward when you talk, and I don't feel like you get nervous at all. I just feel like I'm super nervous because I'm trying to focus on the information I'm delivering, So no, thank you, ma'am. Let's go back to normal next week.
All right, next week it is.
Next week it is. All right, people. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you for sticking with us for our special 28th episode. If you have a comment, or if you know more rumors about this case or where the body is hidden, hit us up on nyabpodcast@gmail.com. We are also on all social media platforms, so send us a message, engage with us. And we're also streaming on all major platforms. So wherever you get your podcast, we're there, including YouTube. And I'm actually looking into getting us on Amazon Podcasts because that's the latest and greatest podcast platform. So stay tuned for that.
Wow. We're so cool.
I know.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.